one and I stand on that. You and me, babe, that's black on black.
Somebody just popped into the screen, so I'm going to welcome in our guests. They have a book out, a new book out. We've been talking about this book for months because Dr. Robin's on frequently, and she's on every Sunday right here on Urban View, Sundays at 11 a.m. The Dr. Robin Show. She has a book, The Invisible Ache, Black Men Identifying Their Pain and Reclaiming Their Power. The co-author of that book is the inspiration as well. You've seen him in a lot of things. I got questions about 88 Heist and a whole bunch of stuff you couldn't talk about because there was a strike, and all of the work you did to help people get money during that period of time. You are a warrior, sir. I love you. Courtney B. Vance is in the building as well. Hello.
Hello.
Okay, that's all we getting, Courtney B. Vance. All right, fine.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay,
hello.
all right, there we go. All of that, all of it. Hi, Dr. Robin.
Hello there, Karen. How are you?
There, I want to make sure you get your applause. I'm awesome.
Absolutely. Good to see you, and always good to be with Courtney and Dr. Caretha. It's good to see you as well. So
it's great to be live with you.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's wonderful.
Yeah,
I'm excited. The first time Courtney B. Vance was on, was it for Lovecraft? I think it was Lovecraft Country. And then you came back and shared the story of your dad and his death by suicide. And I didn't know the story, and it made me sit back. But since then, we have been through some things as a nation, as some people. And we just had a guest on who I asked her how her health was, and she shared that she's stressed out. And yesterday, I think Serena Williams posted, I'm not okay, and that's okay. And she shared that with everyone. Do you believe that we're in a space now where people are starting to talk more about their mental health issues and their, the things that they're working through, and how important is this? I'll start with you, Courtney.
Well, I would hope so, because we came through a pandemic, and we were very messy in the pandemic. We were messy when we got in it. There was no order. There was no, because of the president we had, we just fell into it, and people were doing what they wanted to do. And there are certain things that, when something happens, you need some leadership, and this, and then now we need some leadership to be able to say, I'm not okay, as Serena said, and that is okay. To be able to talk through things, and to say the main thing that we learned with my father's suicide was that, everyone needs to know what's going on. Everyone needs to know that he was on Prozac. And when you're on Prozac at that time, I don't know if Prozac is the medication of choice these days, but at Prozac at that time, it changes your mood. Other people need to know that if Conroy seems a little off, then we know, oh, Prozac. So let me alert someone. Because it's something that we don't want to talk about, politics, religion, sex. We don't want to talk about those things. When an emergency comes up, no one knows what to do. We can't make a move. We can't course correct. We can't do anything. And so with Serena saying what Dr. Robin and I are saying, is that let's talk. That's all. Let's just talk. It ain't no shame in saying, man or woman, boy or girl, that I'm stressed. I'm stressed. And if you ain't stressed, something's wrong with you. So yeah, it's good. It's a good thing.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, it's I think of, and Courtney, thank you, even as you're reminding us. I talk about Mommy and Daddy Vance, and Courtney's mother, who was a librarian, died 6 years ago. I think, is that right, Court? Yeah, we were together in DC in a library on the anniversary of her sixth, the day of her transition. But it's important because it does seem so simple what Courtney said, just talk. And what Serena is saying, which is so powerful, that two things can be and are often true at the same time, which is Serena is intact, she is powerful, and she's not okay. Courtney, his dad, was his hero and still is his hero. And so sometimes people can think, well, his dad died by suicide. Doesn't that make his father lose status? Of course not. It makes his father fully human and gives us a more vibrant example of what it can look like to be at our wits' end and still strong and still powerful and make a decision that life felt too heavy. And so I love Serena's her invitation, which is what Courtney and I are saying in The Invisible Ache, Black men identifying their pain and reclaiming their power, is it's not just okay to not be okay, but there's a necessity, if we are cloaked in our humanity, to be able to claim when we are not okay.
Can I just chime in here to say really quickly that what is so powerful about everything that you two have laid out is that it's a reminder that human beings need to know we're not alone. We, in this culture, are too drenched in the idea of individualism that we have forgotten that, but we simply need to know we're not alone. And that's the power of what you all are doing and saying and encouraging us in, is to know that you connect to your humanity when you're willing to reach out and to just speak a truth and to let other people see that truth.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's something that Courtney and I talk about when we've been on the road. We talk about it privately as well as, personally and publicly, which is that we all have holes, HOLES. And I've said this on the Karen Hunter show. I've said it on the Dr. Robbins show. We all have holes. That's part of being human. And we all long to be whole, WHOLE. And that's a holy, HOLY journey. And so if we understand that our holes, which are claiming our full humanity, are right as Black people, when we were told that we were only 3/5 a human, that part of what we left on the floor, or what was taken away from us, was the full rights and privileges and burdens of being cloaked in our humanity.
Mm.
And yeah, I know you got a show to do and all, but this is how we roll.
Well, first of all, if you listen to the show, you would know that this show is not a radio show as much as it is a mission. So whether I have a show to do, we're gonna have this conversation whether
Amen.
the mic is on or off. This is how we talk.
Amen.
But I was just going to reintroduce, because you came here because you need people to pick up this book, because you need people to get the healing. Dr. Robin and I and Dr. Caretha, we can have this conversation and we've had it many times, but to produce a book is a work that I take very, very seriously. That you two sat down. I want to talk a little bit about the process. How did this come about, and what did you discover about yourself on this journey to doing this book?
Well, it came about because my father died 33 years ago, and my godson died 3 years ago. And I said, that's enough. And I reached out to our publicist, Gilda Squire, and said that to her. And she said, well, let me think about it. And she said, I think I have someone let me put the two of you together, Dr. Rob and Courtney. And we started talking, and we realized we had synergy. And it began to, and then we all of a sudden, Sharice Jones jumped in there, and all of a sudden we're in motion, and it's that's the way that it was organic. It was gorgeously organic, and Dr. Robin and I really have a passion for this, of course, and this is we really basically want to say that you're not alone. We're not alone. That we're in community. And the power of actually saying it, and we were at Cedar Sinai about a month or so ago, and the young man stood up and didn't have to, just stood up and said, I'm not doing well. I got anger, and I'm not for anybody else, but for myself. And the whole room, 200, 300 people, just embraced that young man. So it's the power of submitting oneself to the feeling, the knowledge that I'm not alone, that I am powerful in my saying I'm not okay, and that's okay.
Yeah. How are you doing?
How am I doing?
Yes.
Every day I wake up, I'm grateful. And now
Okay.
some days I wake up and I'm not doing okay, but I'm still it's better to be 6 feet above than 6 feet below. So, we're all going to go through. I'm going through some things at sometimes. My wife is, our children are, our young people, not children no more. But we press. We press, and we know we get tools so that we know what to do when we're not okay, even though that is okay. Because at a certain point, if you're not okay and you keep saying you're not okay, that becomes not okay. But we know what to do now. I know what to do after my sessions with Dr. Kornfeld years ago. I know what to do. Dr. Robin knows what to do. So that's our mission, to put tools in people's hands to know what to do when you're not okay.
Yeah. The book is The Invisible Ache, Black Men Identifying Their Pain and Reclaiming Their Power. Previously, we've talked about why we leaned into Black men, and I want to get to that in a second as well. Dr. Robin, as I'm listening to Courtney B. Vance, share that, I'm also reminded, that holy part, speaking things into existence and, finding our way through a thing. That's kind of the African American tradition here, where the Lord will provide and we're just going to work through by and by. We have these things that are on loop, but it doesn't fix our problems sometimes. How do we marry the power of words with the action that we need to put forth and every day to be whole and healthy?
Yeah, and I love that, because we talk in the book also about prayer. As African American people, as Black people, prayer and faith has been an important part, Karen, as you're saying, of our survival and our thriving. And it has also been a hiding place for the shadow parts of us, the parts of us that are not okay. And it's interesting. I sometimes, when I'm in a pulpit, will say the saying, how are you? I'm blessed and highly favored. We seldom, I never actually hear, except for me, saying I'm blessed, things are a mess, but I'm still blessed, which is what Courtney is saying. And so how we marry the words to actionable liberation is beginning to tell the truth and to be unashamed of the ways in which we are fractured. And that comes with being human. But we have been so bombarded with not being enough that we're ashamed when we show up in a moment and we're not feeling okay. And so a part of this is beginning to articulate without shame or blame of ourselves and even other people. We can get stuck, Karen, and we've talked a lot about this, in blaming other people, including systemic racism. It is not that it is untrue. It just means that what am I, and Courtney will talk about this, every place we're on the road, the question is, what you going to do? Not what the stories are in the past, but what are you going to do with where you find yourself? And so we are not just giving people tools, but we're putting the responsibility back on people, not in unfairness, but to say, if you want to be free, you're going to have to do the work.
866-801-8255. Dr. Robin Smith is here. Courtney B. Vance is here. I bought my copy. Pre-ordered The Invisible Ache, Black Men Identifying Their Pain and Reclaiming Their Power. And it's uniquely put together. So it's almost like a call and response, and it's beautifully written. And I just want to, celebrate that as well, because it's not easy to write a book, and it's even harder to write a book with two people. With schedules is not easy. So kudos to y'all for getting it done. And it's super important. The work is important, because we need everyone whole and healed to get free for all of us. Dr. Mitchell is here as well. Dr. Courtney Mitchell. Yes, you have something?
Thank you. So this is just so powerful. I think part of what I want to say is, what I've learned from you is this idea that acknowledging our holes is actually holy work.
Yes.
Also, everything that you all have been saying about giving space for people to talk. So one of the things that's clear to me is, having listened to you about this book, and just saying, if someone is in trouble, that you should let them say what they have to say, not tell them, oh, I would be distraught if you left, but to let them say what they have to say. And that came right on time for me, because I had a former student who reached out to me after several years to get together, and we talked over Zoom. So one of the things I'm thinking about is, what if I offered to read this book together with him? So I just present that to ask you all, what would you say to that question? What would you recommend in terms of how I broach the conversation, maybe to present it as a reading together? I don't know.
And I'll let, Courtney speak to, whatever his spirit is saying, but I do want to share this. It is so important what you just said, which is what we say in the Invisible Ache, that often when someone is desperate, whether they are depressed, and this includes me, my partner, I can say to him that I'm heavy and things, and he will move in right away. And some of that's his own conditioning to try and make it better. Of course, that makes it worse. The same thing when police tell people, calm down. You don't tell someone who's injured, who's scared, to calm down. What you say is, I can see you're upset, and is there more? And so it's doing the exact opposite of what we've been told. I couldn't live without you. What would I do if you took your life? Or things spiritually, that's not God's will. None of that is helpful. What is helpful is to say, I hear and see that you hurt.
Yes.
Is there more? And there is something healing and powerful about someone bearing witness and being unafraid, even if they're scared. But parents and professors and doctors and preachers being unafraid of hearing, I hurt. I hurt. And for someone to say, I hear that you hurt. I hear you don't want to live. I hear that it feels like it's never going to get better. And is there more? Tell me.
And it's so important, Dr. Robin, to practice those kind of situations. We had a situation yesterday in the house where our executive assistant / company manager and I had to sit down with an employee and have a difficult conversation. Nobody likes to have difficult conversations. They're not fun, but they're always worse in your mind than they are, when you actually are in the middle of it. And, which is not to minimize people's, experiences that are in crisis. But, a lot of times if you never have any practice of having a difficult conversation, when any kind of conversation that's not pleasant comes up, you run away that you don't have practice in helping people. And that's my focus. How can I help? And that's what Dr. Robin is touching on. How do you help in a crisis situation like that? Having some practice in what to do, what to say. And a lot of times there's nothing to say. You just be there with the person. And that the fact that you're here with me and you're not afraid, and I don't see fear in your face. You see love in my face. I'm here. So it's life is messy oftentimes, which doesn't mean that life is not worth living. It's just a messy time. So,
Courtney B. Vance, Dr. Robin Smith. The Invisible Ache is the book, Black Men Identifying Their Pain and Reclaiming Their Power. We were talking with Dr. Mitchell earlier about power and how this country categorizes power of, dominance and, destruction, as opposed to building, nurturing, and healing. That's true power, but that's not the way this country couches power. So people want power, but it's usually dominance over someone. Reclaiming power for us means what?
Great question.
What does that look like?
It's interesting. And Dr. Mitchell, I want to make sure we also address what you said about your former student, because this is part of power. Actually, what Karen's talking about is, how do you engage your student, which is that maybe you would read this together. But I think what's important is that you might say to him, I was just with Courtney B. Vance and Dr. Robin, and they have a story. Courtney has, his father's death by suicide, his godson's, but also Dr. Robin has suffered. Karen knows that, and the audience knows that I've suffered, and I've learned how to convert my suffering into triumph. I've learned how to put all of that messiness that Courtney's talking about and find the redemption. And so I think maybe with your student, your former student, I love the idea, not just for you, but that we already know there are book clubs who have chosen our book. We're so honored as their book of the year or book of the month, or but I think on a one-on-one basis or for a family to sit around and read the book together would be such a powerful opportunity, when often we are complaining and we are talking about everything except what the tools are, what the truth is toward healing. Karen, I think it's interesting when you were just asking about even our process and the call and response. Courtney and I have this vision that we wanted people to feel like they were walking with us down, like that he and I were arm in arm, walking through the woods, and talking, which is what he and I do when we're together. I mean, not the woods, but we walk and we talk. And so our hope was that not only would people overhear our conversation with each other, but more importantly, they would begin to overhear their own conversations with themselves, because that's what therapy really is at its best. It's a safe place where I can begin to hear what I was too terrified to hear by myself.
866-801-8255. Dr. Robin Smith is here. Courtney B. Vance is here. And yes, they are reading the audiobook. So if you want to download it and go for a walk, people are loving the sound of both of your voices. So they get to experience that with the download of the audiobook as well, The Invisible Ache. I want to call you Dr. Vance. I don't know why. I feel compelled.
People do that, and I say he is one. He's a different kind of doctor, but for sure.